No way, Jose.
The following footage proves beyond any doubt that the tanks intentionally set the house on fire. It proves that the Branch Davidians were murdered. You can see that this tank has a gas jet on the front that shoots fire. You can also see the fire quite plainly. The tank goes into the house twice, and each time as it backs out, the fire at the gas jets is plainly visible.
We must all do more to recognize and look for the early warning signals that deeply troubled young people send.
Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the Morning Dump, and I am today's host, Jose Galison. Let me know if I'm sounding good and looking good. I accidentally messed with my audio cable as I came in, so I just want to make sure everything's good for you guys. What is up, people? See Doc Tori in the chat. See Think, Change, Repeat. Good morning, good morning. And then Juan as well. What's up, what's up? Nice seeing you guys here. Today's probably going to be more of like kind of a cleanup day. It was kind of a, I don't know, kind of a, not a ton happened yesterday particularly. But there, I mean, there's a decent amount that we'll get into, but a lot of it's going to be, kind of, as I said, a cleanup. Kind of catching up on things that you guys tagged me on throughout the week that I just didn't get a chance to get around to. So a lot of that today. So it may not be cutting edge stuff like a lot of times it is. You guys say I'm sounding great, looking great. Oh, my hair's being a little weird today, but sounding good. So we're good there. I see Fire Pixie in here. All right, guys. Well, let's take a second while we wait for more of y'all to roll in to remind you guys that today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Nadeau Shave Co. If you're tired of that razor burn irritation, those ingrown hairs that come from those multi-blade cartridges, then this is the way to go. You can shave just like your grandpa used to. Whether you're shaving your whole face or edging up your beard, the single blades give you a barber-grade shave for a fraction of the price. Their standard issue comes out at about $75. The estimate there is supposed to last you a year. Really depends on your, how frequently you shave. I'd say most people last a lot longer. It definitely lasts me a lot longer. But if you're someone who shaves on the daily, or every other day, you may want to consider the Quarter Shave Club. The standard issue probably won't be enough for you at that point. But most people it is. It's probably way more than enough. It's also a COVID mandate refusing company. This company was born in refusing the COVID mandate. So to recap, this is a superior product. You're going to get a smoother shave. It's better for your skin. It's a cheaper product. It's from a company that doesn't hate your guts. And then on top of all that, you can get an additional 10% off if you use code Jose at checkout. And with that, let's get back into it. Check and see what you guys are saying in the chat. What's up, King David? What's up, Joey Bootbag? You sexy bitch. Lance says a couple hairs out of place on the right side. All right, you're right or my right? Oh, I see. Yep, I do get a couple. I don't know. Sometimes the imperfection is what adds to it. You don't want it to be too perfect, You want a little bit of a few stray hairs, make the people think you're one of them, trick them, All right, guys, let's get into some actual stories. Let's get into some anti-war. Let's do an anti-war roundup. There's a few things out there going on. I thought this is particularly interesting. The old seems Zelensky's completely done almost damn near a 180. Things are looking up on this side of things. We'll go ahead and read this. This is from Dave DeCamp. This is the headlines. Trump says Zelensky told him Ukraine is willing to work with U.S. toward peace. Now, keep in mind, just even the headline already, Trump said, Zelensky said. We've already dealt with Trump saying Putin said in the past, and was stuff that Putin goes, what? I didn't fucking say that. So, take it for what it's worth. He could just be playing power games and being putting words in his mouth just to fuck with him. Who knows? Maybe he's big dicking him even to that extent, just to be an ass. Because I know, I like to think he is because that's kind of a funny way to do business, but let's go ahead and read this. It says, on Tuesday night, President Trump said in his address to a joint session of Congress, which I guess that was what happened yesterday. I didn't even catch it. I don't know. You guys let me know if there's any clips or anything in particular that you want me to cover today. I don't know. I didn't see any tweets or anything after that was particularly significant. So I don't know if there's anything, within that what was it? What would you even call it? It was a speech. It was a State of the Union, I guess. If there's anything of significance in there you guys want me to cover, feel free to drop links in the Rumble chat or whatever, or tag me on Twitter. I'll bring it up, but I didn't really even care to watch it, so I don't know. I assumed there was probably nothing really too significant in there. Who knows? Maybe I missed. He went hard on the paint on Epstein, and we're gonna get truth there. Is that gonna happen? Probably not. I doubt it. But you guys, let me know if there's anything important I missed from that, or if there's anything that you think I should analyze. But either way, I guess this was said in this address. Is what the implication is here. So he said that Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky sent him a letter that said Ukraine was ready to work toward peace with the U.S. According to Trump, Zelensky said in the letter that he stands ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Zelensky also told Trump that he was ready to sign a deal that would give the U.S. access to revenue from Ukraine's rare earth minerals and other natural resources at any time that is convenient for you. Now, this, I still don't like that. I don't want this. I don't. I mean, maybe I'm misunderstanding, misreading the tea leaves here, but this strikes me as getting us more involved with them in a bad way. Because, yes, we're not giving them security guarantees and stuff, but how is that any... if we put a whole bunch of American, contractors and stuff on, or like kind of somewhat sanction it in some way to be there, and we're also making money off of it, this public-private partnership, whatever they got going on, which is probably likely corrupt as shit to begin with. I would assume that's what it'll probably end up being like a Burisma or something. But either way, that aside... now what happens if Russia does invade or something? Is this not just, how is this really any different than a security guarantee? This kind of feels like a security guarantee without giving a security guarantee, because you're putting your profit center here of some sort that that we're both pulling for. I say we, but the government. So I don't know. But either way, that aside, everything else great. Zelensky made similar comments in public earlier in the day, saying his Oval Office meeting that ended with an argument with Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance was regrettable. He also suggested potential steps toward peace with Russia after the Trump administration paused all military aid to Ukraine. Ukrainian officials have said that they believe their military stockpiles will only last 6 months without continued U.S. military aid. U.S. officials speaking to the media about the pause said it would remain in place until Ukrainian leadership demonstrated it was ready to work toward peace. Zelensky insisted on Tuesday that he didn't want endless war. So I mean, it looks like things are turning around here. I mean, it really was. I mean, I don't know if we covered it on the show. Maybe we did last night and already did, but left out the part that we did cut off all foreign aid, to Ukraine. So I don't know if it was just that kind of puckered up their butthole and they're just now really being like, oh shit. Because I know there's been all this talk here and there about Europe helping, but then when it comes down to brass tacks and anyone asks them any sort of actual specific details, it really comes, I don't know if we really can support this. I think we really need the U.S., blah, 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 blah. So it looks like maybe Ukraine is just kind of coming to terms and, maybe realizing it needs to shift its tone if it wants to come out the better on the side of this, or at least in a better position than the alternative. Because, I mean, I think they're obviously going to come out of this war in a worse position than they came into it. So, but, I don't know, just trying to save face somewhat at this point. We are ready to work fast to end the war. In the first stages could be the release of prisoners and truce in the sky, ban on missiles, long-range drones, bombs on energy and other civilian infrastructure, and truce in the sea immediately if Russia will do the same, he said. Zelensky said after those initial steps, Ukraine would want to move very fast through all next stages and to work with the U.S. to agree to a strong final deal, expressed gratitude for previous U.S. support, and thanked Trump for supplying Ukraine with the anti-tank missiles. So things are looking up. I think I'm interested in where this is going. So it looks... Oh, geez. Here you go. Not to be judgmental, but you read things that you're trying to get through them and finish up, or I'm just slow and you're reading really fast. Yeah, I know. I do that unintentionally because I'm sort of like reading it, but because I'm like I do read my like I'm reading it for you guys, but also I'm reading it out loud. But I read, in my head quicker than I do out loud. So it is like trying to keep up with my brain. But I've heard both sides from you guys. If you guys really want me to slow down reading, I will. I did make a conscious effort to do that for a while, but then I heard multiple people. There's like a whole gang of people who like, for example, my buddy Tyler, Tyler Yankee. I'm pretty sure he listens to most of his podcasts on like 2x speed. So, there's people who like the fastness of it. They like to get through their information. I don't know. I'm a little bit torn. I get a little. I think my ADD. If someone else is talking fast, it's too much for me. I like it a little bit slower. So I don't know. Someone's saying, "Am I here?" Yes, you are here, Helper Crow. What's up? You're fine. You got Tard fans. Yeah. I don't know. You guys let me know if you want me to slow down. I will, but especially when it's like a story that not every little bit matters. I am kind of get it moving. Especially I got a bunch of stories to get through. So, let me see. Let me go scroll back to see the chat. See what you guys have to say. Someone saying I'm a sexy bitch. Fire Pixie said I've had the past 2 days off. It's been great spraying them with you in Austin, but tomorrow it's back to work and I'll miss you guys. We will miss you too, Fire Pixie, but we will be back here at basically every day at 10 a.m. Eastern when you get back. Oh yeah, by the way, reminder guys, me and Austin, I know it sounds like we've been, blue balling you guys on these, but we're going on tinfoil hat today. So that's happening today. Last week there was a booking issue, but we are going on today, me and Austin. So looking forward to that. That Jules episode just dropped on Tinfoil Hat. Go check that out. My buddy, our producer on Already Dead, Gray Pilled, his episode with Sam Tripoli on Tinfoil Hat dropped today. It was really good. I actually just finished it before we started this, so go check that out, guys. But yeah, I'll see. You guys keep popping in here, and we'll keep on being here. RB Play says in his speech he brought up child trafficking and pointed at all the Democrats. It was totally on purpose. Huh. Okay, that's pretty interesting. I mean, if anyone wants to find that clip, that'd be a fun one to watch. Feel free to drop that in the Rumble chat, and I'll bring it up. But yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. Given Trump's connection to Roy Cohn, kind of how I believe he's made statements about him kind of being a mentor of some sorts. It's kind of it makes these accusations feel a little hollow. Now, I don't know to what degree Trump is involved in partaking of it or being a provider of these services for people, but I think he's definitely aware of it at the very, very least. Shy you own, good morning. So except for the part where he said the Bona and the Jews were the crimes against humanity, now he's going to stop spraying the skies. Helper Crow said, what's the real purpose of the war there? I can't ever even get a real grasp on the point. It's just to get, I guess Russia, invaded and took some territory, and Ukraine's just kind of been getting it back the entire time is the story, even though knowing it's not going to happen. And it's just kind of been this dragging, they're kind of digging their heels in for basically years at this point of like, guys, come help us. We could totally, we can hold on. It's literally just been them like holding on until some other entity comes to swoop in and save the day, like Gandalf and fucking Helm's Deep with the Rohirrim coming over the fucking hill with the light at their back. Like that's almost like but we'll hold till the reinforcements come. Well, reinforcements were never ever going to come, and there was always framed as like, oh, we don't need reinforcements, but yet we are sort of, everything shows that we need reinforcement to actually do anything. That's kind of the vibe I get. It's like they're lying about needing the reinforcements. Like, oh, we don't need you guys. We'll do this on our own. Like, whatever. Essentially trying to force everyone into a war or trying to do their best to strong arm people into their war in whatever way they can. That's what it's felt like from the beginning. Adam says it feels like there's some type of retaliation is going to happen. Yeah, I don't know, man. We're in a weird spot, and where it's like, I don't know. I don't feel it in my bones that we're going to get any sort of like false flags or anything anytime soon. I think we're going to get a little bit of this stuff more going on, but it's definitely possible. We're in weird times. I do think, within the next 4 years, we're going to deal with some sort of black swan event of some sort again. Now, what it's going to be, I can't really say, but I do think we will have some sort of black swan event because I know everyone, this is a golden age, things are going to, and I think we're going to feel a boom. We're going to feel an economic boom cycle probably here soon. Probably going to be a whole lot of printing money and this and that, lots of spending. So it's going to give this, temporary feeling of like, holy shit, this economy is killing it. And then I think some sort of black swan event's going to come. It's going to paper over the bus so that we don't have to blame it at all on our bad economic practices. And we go, it's from this black swan event. What that is, I don't know. But I mean, we've been talking about this in the show. Elon with the Doge stuff, it's all like, we're going to cut. But then you look, $100 billion in the military budget. $4 billion emergency funding for Israel. They're already blowing the fuck out of Doge savings. So we're still trapped in this, ever present boom bust cycle. So, the same tales. And the more that we're playing this storybook game of like, oh my God, things are so great, we're in a golden age, the worse the fall is going to be. Because the bigger the high, the lower the fall. So we'll see. When really all we'd have to do is, stop spending so much. Really just kind of get our economics together. And yeah, there'd be a little bit of time where, you kind of got to buckle up and, tighten things, tighten your belt and things will suck. But then you come out in the end actually doing better. It's like, what was it? I think it was around the same time within the plus or minus 10 years of the Great Depression. There was that one bust that just completely no one even knows about. It was a blip because it was like within a year it was like not a thing because the market didn't react with like printing a bunch of money and stuff, and it completely adapted and it wasn't a big deal as opposed to what we do every time and freak the fuck out and make things way worse. Let me see what else we got. All the caffeine addicts love going fast. Seems fine to me. Think your pace is just fine. Austin kills me a little. Yeah, see, I guess, yeah, there you go. If you think I'm going through things too fast, you got Austin to give it to you like this. And just kind of, take your time and go through some rhetorical circles for a little while. And that's fine, whatever. Different strokes for different folks. I think that's kind of what makes us a good team. So someone says, I'll play at 1.5 or 0.5% for me. Yeah, you're good to keep the pace. Way too much info to get through to slow down. Yeah, I just feel like also it'd be like, since a lot of this is reading articles and stuff, it would just drag if I was like reading them slow, and it would be like 2 to 3 hours for each of these. So, let me see. Bird flu by the end of the month, says Lance Ripa. Mark this post. We'll see. Maybe I think that's too soon. I think we're too soon for a black swan event. We'll see. Measles, yeah, which that one is concerning because we saw RFK leaning into that a little bit recently. So, yeah, Amarsh Muse Concepta is in here. What's up? Giving me kissy lips, making me blush. They're so sweet. In Liverpool. All right, cool. We got someone over in England. Sorry about your teeth. All right, sorry, that was a stupid joke. I thought this was particularly interesting. I saw Russia agrees to broker talks between the U.S. and Iran, which is kind of a cool little side effect of us, increasing diplomacy with Russia. I know we've had our issues with Iran. I think this, could be something to this. We'll see. Let's read this real quick. Russia has agreed to broker talks between the U.S. and Iran amid heightening tensions between Washington and Tehran as the Trump administration has been increasing sanctions, Bloomberg reported on Tuesday. This shit's all kind of retarded, too, because I really feel like if we just stopped throwing more sanctions, they would be in a position where they would want to engage in diplomacy. They've even stating that, like, hey, you tell us you want to engage in diplomacy, yet you keep fucking us. So you're sending us mixed messages. So we're not coming to the table yet until you're ready to, interact with us in good faith. Which is fair. The report said President Trump discussed the idea during his call with Russian President Vladimir Putin last week, and it was discussed further when U.S. and Russian officials met in Saudi Arabia days later. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov appeared to confirm that Russia was willing to broker talks in comments to Bloomberg. He said that Russia believes that the United States and Iran should resolve all problems through negotiations and that Moscow is ready to do everything in its power to achieve this. White House officials said the discussions were in the early stages and that it was unclear if U.S.-Iran talks would yield any progress. Iranian officials have ruled out the idea of direct talks with the U.S. after President Trump reimposed his so-called maximum pressure campaign on the Islamic Republic and began increasing sanctions. Trump has said he wants a deal on Iran's nuclear program and has even acknowledged that Iranian leadership doesn't want a nuclear bomb. William Burns, the head of the CIA under President Biden, also acknowledged in January that there's no evidence Tehran has decided to build a nuclear weapon. Trump has also threatened Iran, saying a deal would be preferable to bombing the country. This is what I'm talking about. This isn't how you speak to people that you want to bring to the table. I mean, especially somebody who hasn't done anything to you. I get it if it's somebody that's already kind of a hostile actor you're trying to bring to the table. That's not really... I know that's how it's constantly framed, on the world stage, but that doesn't, from my understanding, it doesn't really actually seem to ever ring true when you really look into it. Suggesting he will consider military action if an agreement is reached. Israel, which has nuclear weapons the U.S. doesn't recognize, is reportedly looking to bomb Iranian nuclear facilities and wants support from the U.S. Yes, that as always, that's kind of always the deal with them. It doesn't seem to be that we want that, so... Screwed Up Rebellion says Ayatollah refuses to build nukes, doesn't it? Yes, it's my understanding that literally it's a religious stance in that country, because I guess they somehow, I don't know the exact legal structure, but something like that, the Ayatollah, then they have either it's like a prime minister or a president or something. The Ayatollah is like the religious leader that they technically all fall in deference to, but then they have their political leader of some sort. But yes, the Ayatollah for a long time has, had the religious stance, from my understanding, that no, we're not doing nukes. So I forget the exact reasoning, something to do with the ethics of war in relation to Islam or something, and because of the fact that it's something to do with since it's a nuke, it's not really it's such a large collateral or something. I forget the specifics on why. It's something because of the unique nature of nuclear warfare. It's not the same as shooting someone or throwing a grenade or whatever. It's a lot different. It's like a weapon that's incapable of being used without harming innocents essentially, or causing far more damage than it's too likely to kill fellow Muslims. Yeah, probably. Joey Poopbag says British people look like they pop firecrackers in their mouth. Sorry, a marsh muse. I'm probably hurting your feelings. So. All right, let's get back into it. Let's get to now. This is the last one we're going to go into on this side of things. We have a little bit of a bummer, but I know someone shared with me yesterday. I believe it was probably Doctore, which the Arab nations coming up with a plan, and yep, well that wah immediately got rejected. This is Arab League backs Egypt's Gaza reconstruction plan. Israel and U.S. reject it. So Egypt came up with one, and then the Arab League supported it. So the Arab League issued a statement following a summit in Cairo on Tuesday, backing Egyptian proposed $53 billion reconstruction plan for Gaza, an idea quickly rejected by Israel and the U.S. The Egyptian proposal was a response to President Trump's call for the U.S. to take over Gaza, a plan that would involve an ethnic cleansing campaign to forcibly displace Palestinians. The Arab statement rejected any form of Palestinian displacement, whether within or beyond their land, under any pretext or justification. Now, this seems to be where the rub is here. Essentially, this gives them, sounds like everything, basically, except for the Palestinians don't leave. Whereas, no, it seems like that's the sticking point. No, the Palestinians got to leave. And now sometimes there's kind of a allusion to some sort of slight implication of and we'll probably let them back in, knowing we all know how this game's going to be played. Once they're out, they're not going to be let back in. So if there are any sort of assurances, you might as well throw them out the window. I mean, if you haven't caught on at this point, Israeli assurances mean fuck all in the political world. So between their interactions with Hamas, with Lebanon, with really any party they interact with, they are a bad faith actor, up into including us. Honestly, there's been lots of times, I don't have any off the top of my head, but where they're just duplicitous. The idea that anyone engages with them in diplomacy in any way is beyond me. And really, frankly, people should probably stop. If I was a country and I saw how this country acted, I would just be like, there's no There's no room. Like they're a partner not for peace. You know what I mean? Like they always the cliche they say about Palestinians, and that's regard to like any other nation whatsoever. So yeah, they kind of fucking suck. Okay. A major talking point from the Trump administration is that Palestinians can no longer live in Gaza due to the massive destruction caused by the U.S.-backed Israeli bombing campaign, but the Egyptian proposal would keep Palestinians in the territory during reconstruction. The first phase of the 5-year reconstruction plan would involve establishing temporary housing and initial repairs of partially damaged homes that aren't totally destroyed. A temporary committee led by the Palestinian Authority would oversee the first 6 months of reconstruction, and then the PA would take over management of the Strip. So that not even only that, which actually the funny thing is this is their worst fucking fear. Like, so the idea here is like, oh God, they've also been grandstanding about how it's unacceptable that Hamas can continue to exist. That's been the sticking point. Hamas has to leave, blah, blah, blah. Well, under this plan, we're probably going to get more on the Hamas side of things. It's sounding like, the Palestinian Authority would take over, that it would no longer be Hamas. Actually, even right here, let's go ahead and keep reading. Hamas, which has said it does not need to rule over a post-war Gaza, welcomed the plan. So not only are they literally have Hamas agreeing to the plan to step aside. This has been the issue from before. This is the reason why Netanyahu supported Hamas. It was funding them, through like roundabout ways, was because they did not want the Palestinian Authority taking over any sort of position of authority here, because now you can unify the West Bank and Gaza. This is a worst case scenario for them, honestly. Like, this is everything they would ask for. They're theoretically saying to the world, like, we're just. Well, actually, I say that, but it really depends. If you're looking at through rosy glasses, if you're one of the Zionists out there that's kind of going la 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 and just pretending they're only saying good things and ignoring the bad things, this is kind of what they're asking for in that sense. The idea of like, oh well, we want Hamas to not exist anymore, and we want all the fighting to stop, and we want a reconstruction and blah blah. And they're kind of not saying the quiet part out loud that like, well, we want this land, but then they're saying no, we just can't have Hamas. They're like, okay, cool, Hamas will be gone. Palestinian Authority will take over, who's a much more reputable entity, on the world stage. People are much more willing to work with them, and now you have them running both, and now you have a partner for peace. You've always complained about having a partner for peace, not having a partner for peace because Hamas is terrorists or whatever, and sure, yeah, I guess they are, but now you have this other entity, Palestinian Authority, who's seen with a little bit better eyes in the international world. So here we go. This should be great. It sounds like this is coming out of the dime of the Arab countries. This is everything and more that you would think, if you were a decent human being looking at the situation that you would want. But no, they don't want the Palestinian Authority because what they want is these people gone. At the end of the day, that's what they want. They want these people gone. And if the Palestinian Authority, for one, they were agreeing to let these people stay per this deal. And then two, now you have the Palestinian Authority, which makes it so they're far less ever likely to get them to move, because now the international community will work with the Palestinian Authority far more. And yeah, you can't play these games anymore. You can't go, oh, we have these terrorists on our borders that are that we have to take care of. You can't do that anymore. So yeah. Hamas also expressed support for the formation of the Community Support Committee to oversee relief efforts, reconstruction, and governance in Gaza, referring to the temporary committee. In its statement rejecting the proposal, the Israeli foreign minister said the Arab League's statement fails to address the realities of the situation following October 7th, 2023, remaining rooted in outdated perspectives. That means nothing. The Israeli foreign ministry complained that the Arab statement didn't condemn Hamas's October 7th attack. Oh my God. So they're complaining that they didn't condemn the attack as if that's in any way related, and that it relies on the PA and the UN's Palestinian Relief Agency, UNRWA, which I guess there's been all sorts of claims from them that supposedly that's some sort of Hamas entity or something, which I don't know, whatever. And I guess they're saying this relies on the PA. Yeah, okay, sure, yeah, it does rely on the PA. Yeah, I don't know. The ministry calls for President Trump's plan to be implemented instead. This just seems really, really weak, the ground they're trying to stand on for saying why this is not good. This is kind of a perfect deal, if you think about it. If you aren't aware of the sad reality of that's what they sort of position to the world as what they want is not truly what they want. What they want is that land. They want those people gone, whether they're dead or they leave. That's borderline irrelevant to them. So I guess I'd prefer them to leave. Now, with President Trump idea, there's an opportunity for the Gazans to have free choice based on their free will. Once again, that means nothing. I mean, free choice based on their free will. I mean, they would have that under the other deal, I guess. This should be encouraged. I guess the idea being that because they're probably going to give them some sort of, help facilitate them moving out of Gaza if they want. I don't know. This should be encouraged. Instead, Arab states have rejected this opportunity without giving a fair chance and continue to level baseless accusations against Israel. White House National Security Council spokesman Brian Hughes also rejected the Arab League statement, saying the plan doesn't address the reality that Gaza is currently uninhabitable and residents cannot humanely live in a territory covered in debris and unexploded ordnance. Hughes added that President Trump stands by his vision to rebuild Gaza free from Hamas. Now, this is stupid because it's like this idea, it doesn't address the reality it's currently uninhabitable. Well, the reality is these people aren't leaving. So, like, that's the reality. Like, the reality is these people aren't leaving, regardless of how uninhabitable. I mean, yes, some of them might, and you might be able to help some of them to leave. But, I mean, now you have this other entity that's, helping with this. So this is no skin. This is honestly, it's kind of frustrating that this is really a great deal. And it seems this would be kind of perfect. Nope, not even, not happening. So, yeah, let's scroll back, see what you guys had to say. You all hear about the bees dying over winter? It's from a completely made-up illness called colony collapse disorder. I lost 17%. Other keepers lost 60% or more. No, I did not. Huh. I did have some shit honey a while ago, though. I don't know what's up with that. The helper says they're playing chess with souls. Yup. It's total bullshit. It completely skips hives, kept my keepers at treat from mites effectively. All right. Words. All right, let's get back into. All right, let me see what else we got. Now this is from one of you guys. You guys shared this a while ago. This is a talk. Let's read through this because I'm not even entirely sure. This, I saw the headline. That's kind of how this show works. You guys tag me and stuff. I kind of give you a raw reaction. Let's read this. This is from Financial Post. I guess from Bloomberg News, I guess is where it originally was reported. It says, talk of Mar-a-Lago Accord to restructure U.S. debt is getting Wall Street's attention. All right. It sounds too radical. Okay, now also this is February 21st. This is a couple weeks ago. Yeah, a week and some change is ago. So, yep, it sounds too radical to even warrant a second thought that Donald Trump could force some of the United States' foreign creditors to swap their treasuries into ultra long-term bonds to ease the country's debt burden. To be clear, Bianco doesn't see it happening anytime soon, if ever, but in some ways that's beside the point. Trump, he said in no uncertain terms, could very well upend the entire global financial order over the next 4 years, and Wall Street needs to be prepared. I'm going to go ahead and say doubt. The idea of dramatically restructuring America's debt load is part of the Trump team's agenda to revamp global trade via tariffs, weaken the dollar, and ultimately reduce borrowing costs, all with the goal of putting U.S. industry on more even footing with the rest of the world, said Bianco, an over 3-decade market veteran and founder of Bianco Research. Other elements of the plan include the creation of a sovereign wealth fund, which Trump has already set in motion, and forcing America's allies to shoulder a large share of security spending. So they're just talking about restructuring the debt so far. Okay. Seems like moving, this feels like moving deck chairs on the Titanic, You have to start thinking big and you have to start thinking bold about what is going on here, Bianco told listeners during the roughly long-hour webinar. The Mar-a-Lago Accord is not actually a thing, it's a concept. It's a plan to basically remake some of the financial systems. The term Mar-a-Lago Accord is a riff on the 1985 Plaza Accord and therefore the 1944 Bretton Woods Agreement, both major milestones in the establishment of the modern global economic system. Each were named after the resorts where they were negotiated. Many ideas behind the agenda come from a November 2024 paper by Stephen Miron, Trump's nominee to lead the White House Council of Economic Advisors. In it, the former Treasury official laid out a roadmap for reforming the global trading system and weeding out economic imbalances driven by persistent dollar overvaluation. Reforming the global trading system? This seems pretty lofty. Bianco said such a view doesn't necessarily conflict with that of Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who said Thursday on Bloomberg television that the U.S. still has a strong dollar policy. That's because while the U.S. may seek a weaker trade-weighted dollar, a measure of the U.S. currency versus its trading partners is a way to narrow the trade deficit. Financial measures of the greenback, like the Bloomberg Dollar Spot Index, could strengthen at the same time. That gauge is up 2.3% since Trump's November election win. I mean, I don't know if maybe, I mean, I'm kind of a little bit of I'm not a super economics guy, so like, I don't know, maybe the implication here is that maybe some sort of restructuring in the sense of like, because they kind of mentioned the Bretton Woods Agreement and stuff. So, in that context, maybe they're meaning some sort of, I don't know, shift towards more crypto-based things, some sort of restructuring in that sense. I mean, I don't know. Stephen Miron and Scott Bessent seem to be kind of singing from the same hymn sheet, Bianco said. The whole idea is, hopefully, is lower the value of the dollar, lower the value of interest rates, bring down the debt burden in the country, and that's what they're trying to do. Yeah, I mean, I would think if you did go on to say you did change, did like a restructure to some sort of crypto type something or other, I think that would also likely have the effect of probably making, working out debt in some way too, if it's a more efficient overall process. I would think, just once again, deck chairs and the Titanic type thing. It seems like this is kind of marginal stuff we're talking about here because we're talking about such a gigantic debt. But I would assume, a restructuring to a far more efficient model would probably help in some way bring it as well. I don't know. It just seems like a weird angle to take. Bianco, like Moran's paper, referenced the work of former Credit Suisse Group AG strategist Zoltan Pozsar, who has for several years called for Bretton Woods' third revamp or three as part of his theory that the dollar will play a much less dominant role in global finance in the coming decades. Okay, maybe I was onto something. Maybe I was right. One key idea of Pozsar's is that other nations should pay more for their security and stability provided by the U.S. A way to do so would be by swapping some of their treasuries into 100-year, non-tradable, zero-coupon bonds. If these nations need cash quickly, the Federal Reserve would make it temporarily available to them through a lending facility. Okay, so it sounds like they're trying to... I don't know. Okay, so it sounds like the crux here is that they're trying to drive other nations to swap out their debt to us for different bonds of some sort. Maybe the idea is that it's a 100-year bond, so I'm assuming that means they can't do anything with it till then. I mean, I think from my understanding, or that's when it stops gaining interest. I believe if I could recall correctly with the bond. So, I mean, I guess to incentivize people from, keeping, from not using their bonds, this is, once again, it really feels like, deck chairs on Titanic, because the idea is, we're changing up the method by which people hold debt with us, now making it so they're far less likely to sell off their debt, putting us in a better position because we have more people in debt to us. Yeah, I don't know. You're just making it harder for people to cash out. That's really all it sounds like to me. And I guess maybe providing them some sort of incentive that will pay off for them more in the future if they don't cash out. I mean, this seems to be a simplistic way to kind of understand what they're trying to do here. It really seems like they're trying to squeeze water out of a rock, basically. Bianco stressed that this type of debt swap may not actually happen, and if the U.S. were to pursue it, it would require significant international cooperation and could potentially impact global financial stability. Bond investors are so far showing little sign of concern with trading the Treasury market particularly calm in recent days. Still, the point of discussing these ideas is clients to emphasize the magnitude of the potential changes in store, Bianco said. I mean, I could see this being some sort of thing that, on the international financial world implements. They just enough of them in mass kind of do it. And once again, to kind of squeeze more time out of this, because all of this international money stuff is just a scam. It's all a big, gigantic scam. And at some point, the money comes due, and this is just them finding one ways to, carry over this zero and dot this, I, cross this T, to where make this last a little bit longer till the scam doesn't run up. That's what this feels like to me. So, okay. All right, let me see. All right, I think that's the end of that. Yeah, I mean, if any of you guys are able to understand this was sent by, I believe, one of our patrons. They were wanting me to kind of give my thoughts on it. That's my thoughts. You asked. Someone says I'm being a Jew. Back to the gold standard. Yeah, right. Let me see. Hey, what's up, Fendalander? See you in the chat. Someone says, RB Plays says he did talk about starting large-scale precious mineral extraction in the U.S. First thing I thought of was BlackRock in North Carolina. Let me see. Try to see if I... Dude, why read that? Read it fast, though. Hey, there are if you don't like this, I get it. This is not everything. Not everyone's gonna be interested in the restructuring of the global financial system. Read an article, but hey, I do timestamps on these, so you can pop to the next one if you don't like it. But if you show up live, it is what it is. Just saying. Yeah, that's all I have to say on that one. Here's another one from one of you guys. More on the Trump side things. I know we talked last night on Already Dead about the crazy thing going over at DHS where RFK is, pushing the anti-Semitism stuff on like college campuses, which how that ties into DHS. I must have read that, statement about 3 times. I still struggle. I guess the reasoning being is health in the sense of they want a healthy community, and they define healthy communities as not having racism. Super gay. But anyways, here's one from about a week ago from Trump doing similar things, hate crime indictments. This kind of ties into that topic from yesterday anyways. So Trump DOJ to file hate crime indictments against campus activists who are supporting Hamas. And it says in subtext here, we're going to put these people in jail, not for 24 hours, but for years, which is not a great thing to say, in my opinion. Head of the U.S. Department of Justice's task force to combat anti-Semitism, Leo Terrell, announced that federal hate crime indictments will soon be filed against campus activists who are supporting Hamas and trying to intimidate Jews. So now they're talking about pressing charges against these people just for hate crimes. So it sounds like it's getting. I don't know, every time this comes up, it gets more and more murky. Now it seems to be straight up, basically flipped to the other side. We're like, no, this sounds like straight up. Oh no, we're going after the First Amendment. But I don't know. Maybe it's still like somebody had to have done some sort of other additional assault or something in connection. We'll see. Terrell, senior counselor to the Assistant U.S. Attorney General for Civil Rights, told Israel's Channel 12 News on Wednesday, "You see all these disorderly demonstrations supporting Hamas and trying to intimidate Jews? We're going to put these people in jail, not for 24 hours, but for years." Okay, well, this is a Leo Terrell guy. I mean, that's not a great statement at all. At least it's not this is a senior counsel. This guy should be fucking fired. You can't, that statement on by its own, I don't know. I guess maybe he could clean up, like, oops, I meant this and not that, but this sounds like pretty clear, like, oh, no, we're going to jail people for speech. The civil rights attorney noted that under the Biden administration, local prosecutors did not take action to file hate crime charges. In major cities like New York and Los Angeles, Jews have been harassed and denied access to universities. They did nothing and failed their job. We are about to do more in a month than Biden and Harris did in 4 years. He announced the first indictments are expected to be filed in the next week and a half. A lot is going to happen in the next 4 to 5 weeks. My message to Jews in the United States and around the world: help is on the way. He continued, when you see universities start losing millions of dollars in federal funding, you're going to see a change in their behavior. When you see court orders protecting Jewish students, visas of anti-Semitic students being revoked, you will see a major change. On February 3rd, the Justice Department announced that it had formed the task force following President Trump's executive order on additional measures to combat anti-Semitism. The order called on every federal agency to submit a report within 60 days regarding efforts to combat anti-Semitism following the October 7th attacks. Man, this is a lot of bending over backwards for Jewy stuff. Terrell also announced a tour of 10 universities accused of harming Jewish students and allowing harassment. He added that the Trump administration's message to the colleges is to protect Jewish students like you protect all other students, or we'll sue you and take away your funding. Well, that's not how you protect all other students. So the sentence in and of itself, you're like protect Jewish students like you would protect all other students, or we'll sue you and take away your funding. What do you know? If you're just some dude, like you don't, I don't know. There's been, this is befuddling. That's an insane thing to say. Protect Jewish students like you protect other students, or we'll sue you and take away your funding. But that's not a thing for other students. You won't get sued and take away your funding if for some reason people don't like Whitey in some fucking college for some reason. I don't know. This is thought crimes. We're going to make sure they don't get a penny. We're going to financially attack any university that doesn't protect students, and if it's public, we're going to take away the funding. Now, to be clear, I don't want these guys to have funding anyway, so like, I guess I'm not really upset about it. It's just that I still think it's probably a First Amendment thing because really, if you're going to, I don't think they should give this funding whatsoever. But if you're going to give the funding, then it really kind of can't be. I don't know. Even then, though, that gets into a weird area. That becomes a tragedy of the commons things, because then you could just kind of go nuts with that, and they could do whatever. I'm thinking it through in real time. Either way, this is ridiculous. Terrell has said that since the Palestinian terrorist attacks against Israel on October 7th, 2023, there has been a tremendous increase in anti-Semitism worldwide. Our fight is not just here in the United States. We are trying to set an example for the entire world. All right, that's the end of that story. We're stopping bad feelings, guys. We're getting rid of bad feelings. You're not allowed to not like people anymore. Welcome to the golden age. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. Forcing countries to keep your currency cause everybody does is you can't stop buying my bagels. Everybody buys my bagels. Okay. They go after the Second Amendment and then go for the First. Yup. Advocating against genocide will definitely lead to skin lamps, so I get this legislation. 100%, yeah. If you have a problem with genocide, there might be a genocide again. All right. College is a grift. They hand out BS degrees and huge egos. I 100% agree. See Tyler in the chat. What is up? And Dr. Ray says this is why public-owned land always leads to problems. See? Yeah, you are correct. Because like as I'm saying, I'm like, technically, like if you are even to give money as a governmental entity, you then at that point aren't supposed to even then infringe on their if you can no longer you can't make that money like contingent on it. But then you do have a weird tragedy of the commons where it's like, yeah, but is that really like you want to let them do anything? I mean, I don't know. Well, that's why we need to get rid of government. All right, let's get into the next one. This one's kind of a fun little story. Old Mangione slinging his meat. Apparently, this is a thing for the ladies out there. I did this for you. It's more just a funny, stupid story. Luigi Mangione sex tape bombshell as CEO assassin suspect filmed at least 20 cinema-style porn videos he wanted to be watched. This is from Brittany Chain at Daily Mail. Luigi Mangione allegedly made upwards of 20 highly stylized sex tapes. Man, we're going to have to get Toad to review these. Highly stylized. That's an odd move for a sex tape. Like if you're like an amateur sex tape, I get it. You know, you want one with your wife, your girlfriend, whatever. I mean, it's kind of cool, fun thing to do. I don't know, fun thing to do in your relationship. But 20 highly stylized, that's like you're entering into like American Psycho territory. Like what are you like flexing the mirror? Like what is this is weird. The 26-year-old Ivy League graduate has amassed a loyal fan base behind bars, with women repeatedly throwing themselves at him as he faces charges for allegedly shooting dead United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Now, an insider has told Radar Online about Mangione's life before prison, revealing there are at least 20 videos of him having sex that he filmed and wanted to be watched. It wasn't just some grainy lighting mistake. It was perfect lighting, everything, the insider claimed. He wanted to be watched. He got off on it. There are at least 20 videos of him having sex. The person wanted to say a lot of the girls were too afraid to come forward or tell anyone for fear they might get dragged in this case somehow. Mangione was the subject of a widespread manhunt after Thompson was shot dead. In the weeks that followed his arrest, key details about his sex life and health battles were made public. Now, this is obviously interesting for those who recall the ins and outs of this. It was thrown around a lot that he wasn't able to have sex. So they're about to get into this. He had posted on his X page about having a pretty huge dick in response to a post about asking if anyone on the platform had a PhD. That was just a funny joke. I remember seeing that. Also emerged that he had suffered a back injury so severe he was unable to have sex, according to his former roommate, which that sounds like bullshit. R.J. Martin had lived with the murder suspect for 6 years at a Hawaii co-living space and told the New York Times of his secret agony. Keep in mind this spot in Hawaii. I believe this is like a rationalist community type thing, and by that's like the ethical. How can I not think? Altruism. It's like or ethical altruism, I think it's called, or effective altruism. Like effective altruism is like a spin-off of the rationality. This is like the Sam Bankman-Fried stuff. It's kind of the Zizians are an offshoot of this weird kind of philosophy stuff. That's what this weird this Hawaii co-living space was, some sort of offshoot off that. So keep that in mind too. So this is part of the secret agony. Supposedly, he went nuts because he couldn't have sex and. I don't know, maybe they're spicing up a story that he had sex a bunch and then he couldn't have sex and that's why he went so nuts. We'll see. He knew that dating and being physically intimate with his back condition wasn't possible. I remember him telling me that and my heart just breaks, Martin said. He had that Mangione had a back condition called spondylolisthesis that was worsened by a surfing accident. Well, if anyone knows anything about that condition and how bullshit that is or not, let me know, because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this guy really couldn't fuck because of his back. But I kind of struggle to believe that. I mean, just look at the guy. Like, even now, you can just tell he's clearly physically active. He's a handsome, like, he's just like, I struggle to believe this dude cannot fuck. Like, yeah, maybe you gotta get weird positions or like, and your back hurts sometimes, but like, this dude fucks. His spine was kind of misaligned. He said his lower vertebrae were almost like a half inch off, and I think it pinched a nerve. Ooh, it pinched a nerve. But even then, like, he's got to be staying active. Like, I mean, I guess you could just diet and that's it. But this dude had like cum gutters and everything. Like, he's ripped. Like, there's no way this guy isn't staying physically active. And like, if you can be physically active and keep a tight body, like, dude, you can bang. Like, yeah, maybe might have some issues, but dude can bang. This is retarded. The new insider who has shared about his sex tape said he would often record himself in the act and would also share nude photos of himself with women he knew. People thought he was this misunderstood genius, but he was filming everything like he was starring in his own private porno empire, the source told Radar. He wasn't just reckless, he was putting on a show, and now the show is over. What a stupid way to end it. And now the show is over. At the time of his arrest, Mangione had been on the run for 5 days. Authorities confirmed he had a handwritten manifesto. Blah, 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 blah. Nothing else new in there. Okay. He attended the $40,000 a year Gilman Prep School in Baltimore, where he graduated as valedictorian in 2016. He's from a wealthy family with his grandfather, a self-made multimillionaire who owned a luxury holiday resort, nursing homes, and a radio station. So yeah, this interesting. Now this is part of the story that this guy really liked to bang. And really liked to video it. Was a bit of a voyeur. So I don't know if the idea here is that we're tying this into his he was broken later, couldn't have sex. This is probably why he went nuts. I don't know. This is bizarre either way. Reverse cowgirl works for everybody. It says Fire Pixie. Doc Torrey says, I'm convinced he's a patsy for the company. There was just a huge decision in the case. You got some new. Okay, cool. 1 second. Let me bring that up. I'll bring that up, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Whistleblower case against United. Yeah, I heard someone cover this. Well, I guess we can probably go over that here in a second. It probably would make sense for us to go over that. I already have it. Aggressively agreeing says if vertebrae hits sciatic nerve, could be unbearable pain. Probably wouldn't be able to become an assassin. Yeah. But even then, I just like struggle to believe that he would be able to keep it together, like physically, and like he's really good shape. Like, he's really ripped. Like, he's got to be saying, I get you can diet to some extent, but like, I don't know. I struggle to believe this guy is in such rough shape he can't bang. Like, it might be hard and it hurts sometimes, but yeah, this is nonsense to me. Let me see. Radix, yeah, Radix is who I'm referring to. I believe she covered some of this, but we can probably go through that here in a bit. Toad sex tape reviews. Yeah. Thought his back was so bad. He cannot be having sex. Yep. Plot twist, it's dude sex. All right. Yeah, exactly what the ladies wanted. Yeah, this is exactly what the ladies wanted. What are you talking about it? All right, let's get back into it. Who's a gooning on him? I am not gooning on him. I will give it to him. He's a cutie pie, but I'm not gooning on him. He's not. I'm not into dudes like that. All right. Okie dokie. Let's check this out. This is from Rage Child. Rage Child shared this with me. I figured we'd watch this video. I figured this would be a fun video to watch together. Kind of, I guess, about something to do with the government not liking Christians. So let's watch this.
Why Christians? Remember, the Soviet Union made a statement that we could control all of our entire population except the Christians. And they had to put them in prison and in gulags. And I remember 1994 when I was in the CIA, we ordered into a conference room. We all filed in. There's about 30 of us. And our division chief starts off by saying,
Whoa. Back up. Did you say when I was in the CIA?
We ordered into a conference room. We all filed in. There's about 30 of us. Ordered into when I was in the CIA. We ordered into a conference room. We all filed in. There's about 30 of us. And our division chief starts off by saying, now don't get mad at me. I'm just the messenger. This comes down from the director of the CIA. You can no longer say Merry Christmas in any CIA office space. You cannot have a manger scene on your desk or on your door, or you will face administrative penalties. And the sad part was only two of us, our jaws dropped. Like, what? And the CIA was actively against Christians, and they used DEI as a method to suppress them. And I remember it was Christmas Eve, and I walked out. I thought about this, prayed about this overnight, and I said, oh, no, you don't. So I walked out on New Year's Eve, and I turned around to everybody, and I said, good night, and by the way, Merry Christmas. I'm like, there is a line you don't cross. Well, there was an outrage from the CIA populace, and as evil people always do, when they got...
I'll be honest, so far it's pretty fucking boomerish to me. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, you worked for the devil. Okay. Are you surprised?
They got resistance. They backed off and said, well, never mind, But it has been Christianity, because the Christians are the only ones that will not answer to tyranny. We believe in God and a higher power, and we will not be manipulated by a tyrannical regime. And that's why Christians are despised around the world, including in this previous administration. My goodness. And going back to Obama.
I mean, I don't know. Yes and no. I agree with this in some ways. It really depends. I guess for those of you out there that if you are really, I guess it depends on how, tight you are in your relationship with God or whatever, I guess. Because, I mean, I do think there is something to this, in that, like, people having a belief system, especially if a belief system I generally believe to be good, and and not liking bad things. So I generally find that to be a good thing for people to believe in. And obviously, if you believe in a God, theoretically this supersedes anything else. So obviously, I think that a lot of the atheist types do get caught up in, like, kind of the making a new God type thing, that they're especially out of the government. So, but at the same time too, there's also where Christianity gets flipped. I mean, we've talked about the Scofield Bible and things of the like. So, I mean, you guys remember during COVID? I mean, there were some. I mean, to kind of illustrate this point, some of the best, God, what the fuck? Some of the best people that were fighting against it were religious, but then also on the flip side, there really wasn't a ton of religious hubbub about, like, fuck you, this is what we're doing. We're ironically, it actually was a lot in the Jewish community, not so much in Christianity, but there were a lot. They did kind of get cucked. I mean, there were a few shining examples of Christians that were like, no, like, this is my belief and blah 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 blah, and were stood strong. But there were a lot of people bitched out big time. So I don't know. I mean, growing up in the church, I know lots of people that, like, they've come to find beliefs that find ways that they're essentially using their Bible to justify awful things. So I don't know. It can go a lot of ways, I guess. I mean, I would say like a good belief in the Bible, though, like a proper belief. Because man, while I'm not religious, you guys know I'm not. I think, but what my perception of the Bible and what it calls for, like an actual true believer in that, I think is good. But I do think a lot of people get misled and misunderstand things. But I don't know. I'm rambling now, but it's a mixed bag. I don't know if it's they make it out like this huge thing. I don't know how big it is. So Christ is King from bug fights. Battle between good and evil plays out in the heart of every man. 100%. He's actually surprised when his colleagues are Mossad agents. Yep. Operation PatCon is cool, but the anti-Christmas stuff is too much. What a clown. To be fair, PatCon was FBI. But, yeah, I don't know. It just seems gay. Like, oh, I'm the CIA. And then they said, we can't say Merry Christmas. And then I said, Merry Christmas. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of corny. All right, let's check this out. My buddy, Jolly Hunk Klebold, tagged me in this. I think I know why. That's from the buddy Ken Silva. It says a gun store used during the FBI's PatCon opt was referenced today in a SCOTUS hearing. The hearing was related to a lawsuit from Mexico which alleges that the top U.S. firearm companies are fueling cartel gun violence. The PatCon Link store is the Lone Wolf Trading Company. According to PatCon informant John Matthews, Lone Wolf was involved in a sting operation in which AR-15 rifles, which had been converted to full auto machine guns, were illegally sold to narcotics peddling motorcycle gangs. It's funny you just talked about PatCon. This is information that was discovered through Jesse Trenadu's FOIA lawsuits. And let's not forget the AR-15s. They were made full auto from the Lone Wolf gun store back in the 90s by a guy brought in by the FBI for me to put in place. Those guns went to bikers who were selling drugs on the border. Those drugs were believed to be coming in from China, Matthews said. Lone Wolf is not a defendant in Mexico's lawsuit. Interesting that it was referenced nonetheless. So this was just an excuse to kind of talk about Lone Wolf. Obviously, we had the Fast and Furious scandal later, which was also through the Lone Wolf Trading Company. So it is just kind of interesting that, like, man, they just keep reusing this fucking place. It seems to be this is the go-to op. They just, even every time it gets uncovered, they just don't even bother. And then obviously it's interesting. It's called Lone Wolf, and then you keep in mind how much this fucking store glows. It's literally been used for like a multitude of ops now at this point, like provable ops. It's pretty nuts. But yeah, it's interesting how it ties into PatCon, which ties into Oklahoma City, which ties into slinging guns illegally through a government op to fucking motorcycle gangs, which I believe those motorcycle gangs were informants in these gangs in this. This is part of this was in I forget the name of the operation. It was like Operation, it was something like cool, like Operation Affliction or something like that. Something super metal in 90s. But this was in his series. I forget what it is. The Fed Files, I believe. I believe this showed up in his Fed Files. So if those are interested in it, go check out Ken Silva over at Headline USA. But yeah, interesting stuff that they just keep on. Everything just keeps on coming back to the Lone Wolf gun store every fucking time. Lone Wolf was also the FFL that somehow got those guns all the way to France. Yes, that too. I forgot about that. That's a good point, Bobo. Yes, their guns were like their serial numbers on guns found in that France attack. What was it, like an Ariana Grande concert or something? Yeah, they were ones that had passed through the Lone Wolf gun store. Trump designating from Screwed Up Bellion the Mexican cartels as terrorist orgs allows the U.S. government to confiscate all the Euro banks' dirty money linked to cartels. Maybe. And then here's GPI. You get rid of Christianity, you get rid of the moral judgments we USA based on laws on. Maybe. I don't know. I feel like that's an assertion. I mean, you might be wrong. I'm not saying I want it to be on, to be honest, to be clear with you. I'm not that type of atheist or agnostic or whatever you want to call me. I if anything, I like being in a Christian nation. What was it? Everyone gives Christopher Hitchens shit for a while ago, but she was correct in the idea that like there's like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a cultural like religion. Like I like being a cultural. I grew up in around religious people. I grew up around a Christian sensibility. I mean, whether or not you can have a good society with or without it, I don't really care. I mean, like, because that's what I like. So That's the kind of society I like to be in. So I don't know. I don't really need to know, wonder, oh, no, well, I think, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I personally, at least on an individual level, don't find it hard to have reasonable moral judgments without there being a guy in the sky. But yeah, maybe on a societal level, you can't. You got to have that. But at the end of the day, whatever. I'm cool with people believing that because I kind of like it anyway. So, let me see. The gates of Hades will never prevail against the church. All right, let's get into something else. Let me see. What else are we gonna get into? All right, let's do this. It's more. I got a lot of Israel stuff this week. I think this is all stuff you guys are sharing. Once again, I said this is like a cleanup week. We're kind of going through this stuff. A lot of this stuff you guys tagged me in before. Now this is Battle for the Truth, pro-Israel bias inside UK newsrooms revealed. This is from a couple weeks ago. Thought this would be particularly kind of interesting to look at how this plays out. How the almost like the Operation Mockingbird, Operation Mockingbird Oive. Journalists working at Britain's most prestigious newspapers and TV channels have expressed concern at pro-Israel bias inside their organizations. Speaking exclusively to declassified half a dozen current and former staff at the BBC, Sky, ITN, The Guardian, and The Times have disclosed the extent of anti-Palestinian prejudice in their newsrooms. All the journalists request anonymity for fear of professional reprisals. Despite working for a range of outlets from across the political spectrum, they painted a consistent picture of the obstacles faced by reporters who want to humanize Palestinians or scrutinize Israeli government activities. Or narratives, my bad. A reporter from the right-wing Times newspaper said, "I literally cry in the bathroom so many times because of the uphill battle of trying to get things reported." Disgruntled staff at the Liberal Guardian have compiled an exhaustive spreadsheet with a mountain of examples of the paper amplifying unchallenged Israeli propaganda or treating clearly false statements by Israeli spokespeople as credible. Journalists working in TV studios face a similar struggle with swift repercussions if guests from the Israeli government are asked difficult questions on air. Declassified was told the Israeli narrative always reigned supreme and instructed the coverage of Sky News, no matter how inaccurate. At the BBC, when it comes to reporting accurately on the nature of Israeli conduct in Gaza, a journalist said the use of the word genocide is effectively banned, and any contributor who uses this word is immediately shut down. At ITN, which produces news programs for 3 British TV channels, the focus is on clicks, not ethical clarity, a member of staff lamented. Tragic footage from Gaza is often met with remarks about how much traffic it will generate, as if it's not real lives being impacted. Sky skewed news. Across all the mainstream media outlets where declassified gained access to insiders, a recurring theme was the challenge of reporting on Israel's war crimes despite them being caught on camera. One journalist at Sky News suggested there are a whole set of unwritten journalistic rules that apply exclusively to Israel. It's a continuous battle to report the truth, they said. We would see the raw footage being sent to us from Gaza. We are all well aware of the carnage, yet you can't describe what your eyes are seeing. I remember when Israel's then Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant, announced a complete siege immediately after October 7th. It was a blockade on top of an already crippling blockade. It was a violation of international law that was going to have catastrophic consequences, and yet this wasn't allowed to be conveyed in the coverage. Keep in mind, just a little side note here. I mean, we mentioned on this show and last night, and I think even yesterday, but just like days ago, it just started. The end of phase 1 of the peace deal, Gaza. It came to an end, and Israel essentially is like, oh well, Palestinians don't want to come to an agreement, and by that they don't want to agree to Israel's agreements, which is everything for them and nothing for the other side. But they literally announced to the world that we're going to stop any goods from going in and out of Gaza. They just announced it to the world, which is a hate crime, or not a hate crime. It's a war crime. I haven't really seen much reporting on it. I mean, that was one of the most ballsiest things, just proudly proclaiming to the world that, hey guys, we're doing war crimes, and then whether we didn't say directly that we supported that specific. Well, actually, we kind of did. We've said before this that we support whatever their next moves were. We've after the fact, before the fact, around the time, made multiple statements about how we support whatever they do. Blah blah blah. We gave them $4 billion in arms. We had to literally pass it through an emergency provision because I guess it's an emergency that Israel has arms. We gave that to them the day before they did this. So, yeah, I mean, we're very clearly supporting this action. Reporting barely any. Since Israel began its onslaught on Gaza, Sky News has been criticized on social media for not attributing blame when Palestinians were killed, in contrast to vivid, humanizing reporting on Israeli victims. Inside the newsroom, there's unease at how much prominence is given to the Israeli military versions of events. Myself and other colleagues found ourselves frequently frustrated at how nothing could be reported unless there was a response or confirmation from the Israeli army. The Sky journalist told Declassified, "We know who's doing the killing. We know who's responsible, so why must we wait for Israel to confirm or deny before we attribute? We never wait for the Russians. We take Ukrainian claims at face value as the victims. Why is this any different? Nor was any version Israel provided ever challenged. It was taken as fact, always. I remember challenging senior members of staff, reminding them that Israel repeatedly lies and has a history of doing so, but it was pointless and fell on deaf ears. The Israeli narrative always reigned supreme and instructed the coverage at Sky News, no matter how inaccurate." Speaking up and trying to shift the direction of coverage was not without consequence, the Sky News journalist added. To adopt a stance other than Israel having the right to defend itself, to push back against the skewed coverage, would earn you the label of being difficult or rigid. The choice of which guests to book and how hard to scrutinize them has been another issue of concern inside the newsroom. Sky News frequently treated Palestinian guests with hostility, including muting them. For Israeli guests, that was a line that could not be crossed. If we had an interview with a Palestinian ambassador that comprehensively conveyed the Palestinian side, or a presenter challenged an IDF spokesperson, or even a news report that humanized Palestinians and explicitly named Israel as the perpetrator, there would be an avalanche of phone calls and complaints promptly, the Sky source said. Who exactly was responsible for some of the phone calls and what their intent was also became apparent. Israeli spokespeople or officials who had access to senior figures would pressure Sky News and often threaten to pull access to correspondence on the ground as a result. This clearly impacted what was and wasn't said on air. Sky News did not respond to requests for comment. There are similar concerns at ITN, which makes the news programs for ITV, Channel 4, and Channel 5. A journalist employed by ITN who wished not to disclose the exact program they worked on highlighted the callous attitude towards reporting in Palestine. Even when Gaza was covered, it was driven by clicks, not ethical clarity. With the sheer scale of loss in Gaza, stories with dramatic visuals like explosions or Israeli soldiers on the ground were often chosen over humanitarian stories. Tragic footage is often met with comments like, "That's really good footage," or remarks about how much traffic it will generate, as if it's not real lives being impacted, working environment where colleagues seem detached or even excited about these tragedies extremely difficult. Over at the BBC, two former journalists told Declassified that the playbook from Sky and ITN sounded very familiar. One went on to describe how after October 7th, a systemic bias was clear to see, with the BBC overtly dehumanizing Palestinians across TV, radio, and online output. They suggested there was an unmistakable hierarchy of human life in the coverage, with a deliberate focus on Israelis who lost their lives and their hostages, with reporters naming them and developing narratives about them which were very sympathetic and humanizing, yet there was no such treatment for the Palestinians. Trying to amplify stories centered around Palestinians was challenging because despite the disproportionality in the conflict, program editors would insist on balancing Palestinian voices with Israeli ones. When I pitched a piece about a Palestinian whose family was caught up in the destruction of Gaza, I was immediately told we also had to find an equivalent Israeli story. It was an admission that focusing on the suffering of Palestinians didn't merit a story item of its own. That journalist recalled how unwritten rules coming from senior staff engendered a culture of censorship. The use of the word genocide is effectively banned, and any contributor who uses this word is immediately shut down. Amnesty International and UN human rights experts have concluded Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. In some instances, BBC staff made comments privately which were indicative of the dehumanizing attitudes that existed among the very people responsible for telling the story to the public. In November 2023, as footage was coming to the office of the Israeli siege on Al-Shifa Hospital, I was having training with a colleague and remarked to them, "I can't believe they are allowed to do this." My colleague retorted, "I can't believe Hamas uses kids as human shields." I was speechless. A war crime in front of our eyes was being dismissed like this. The journalist was keen to emphasize that such attitudes are a function and non-error. These attitudes don't just exist at an individual level. The bias in the corporation runs much deeper. 2021, I remember attending an impartiality training session, and someone brought up reportage on Israel and Palestine and how best to navigate it. They reflected. The trainer described the situation as complicated, without any recognition of the huge imbalance of power and capabilities. The journalist who provided this testimony resigned from the BBC at the end of 2023, saying that their principles and values did not align with the organization, the people who work there. In November 2023, 8 UK-based journalists at the BBC wrote a detailed letter accusing the broadcaster of failing to tell the story of Israel-Palestine accurately. They said that through omission and lack of critical engagement with Israel's claims, the BBC failed to help the public engage with and understand the human rights abuses unfolding in Gaza. The author of that letter, who also quit the BBC, outlined and declassified how more than a year later they were appalled to see how many of the issues highlighted have not been addressed. The BBC has uncritically amplified and legitimized Israel's perspective, even as the Israeli military continues to attack schools and hospitals. They felt that as a public service broadcaster, the BBC has a grave responsibility. All right, blah, 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 blah. All right, I'm trying to see if there's anything else actually substantive in here. I mean, all right, I'm honestly kind of done with it. It's just, yeah, there's a lot of, I'm not seeing any major things, but it seems to be there's there's a bunch of reporters, a bunch of people complaining. I'm not at all, trying to slap down the concept here. I do think they have a point. It just seems that it's like just a bunch of disgruntled workers, but they all have a point. They're all pointing out the bias here. I was just kind of like, I don't know. I mean, how many more different examples we need of them kind of saying the same thing over and over and over and over again? Let's pop in and see what you guys would say before we get into the next story. See what you guys had to say. Rise to live. If only we could sponsor a trip for Jose to try. Who are you trying to get me to go interview? So we just had to make news that a farmer/rancher was killed in an IED on the Mexican side. Holy shit. On the Mexican side of the border? Okay, well that's interesting. Lone Wolf Trading Company in Glendale, Arizona closes at 8 p.m. today, says Rise to Liberty. Which, by the way, I just had him, Jacob, back on the show. That'll be, I don't think this week, but maybe next week, his appearance. We continue our series on the False Memory Syndrome Foundation. So, yeah, cartels are already running and hiding. They won't do a damn thing, says Screwed Up Texas. From what I've been reading, they pay huge sums of money to get former SOCOM guys in there, cartel to be the main point guy, and train the newbies. What better way to train the newbies? All right. So, all right. All right, cool. Let's get into the next story. Here we go. This is Walter Kurt sharing this. This is breaking, which I don't think this is from this is from 2 days ago, so not breaking. But newly confirmed Secretary of Education Linda McMahon, within minutes of being confirmed, launches final mission of the Department of Education: send it back to the states. I know we've kind of been shitting on Trump a lot today, but hey, this is a good one. In her letter obtained by Fox, she will be informing all Department of Education employees that she will be leading this final mission. In quotes, "Our job is to respect the will of the American people and the president they elected, who has tasked us with accomplishing the elimination of bureaucratic bloat here at the Department of Education. A momentous final mission, quickly and responsibly. Tear it down. This is what I voted for." Now, why is this important? Now, has anyone seen out there? I know there was I didn't know if I ever saw confirmation. Do you guys know offhand? Is supposedly the story that we are limiting the Department of Education federally? I mean, I believe I don't remember. I remember them saying they were waiting for the announcement. I don't remember ever seeing that actual announcement. So, because if that is the case, this is cool. Otherwise, this is worded that we're going to cut bloat. Is what it sounds like it's implying. I'm not sure. You guys let me know if you guys have been paying attention enough. But I mean, that was my understanding, is that we were supposedly getting rid of this. So if that's the case, that's dope. So yeah, its duties will be transitioned back to the state, is Dr. Tory. Okay, cool. That's what I thought. I just wanted to check. I want to get one of you guys to verify, because I thought that was the case. I just don't remember ever actually seeing a confirmation of that was happening. So yeah, here we are. We're seeing they're working on their final mission. So, their final mission is to disassemble, which this is cool. As dour as I've been on some things, this is cool. This is something. Once again, obviously the spending is outpacing the cutting, so the losing's outpacing the winning. But hey, the winning's still cool. So keep up the winning, and stop the losing. That's kind of my message here for the administration. Joey Pubex's state should decide school curriculum. Yep. I believe it takes an act of Congress to eliminate altogether. Okay. So someone's saying school choice coming to Texas, but that shit is a trap. Say fuck no government money with 100 strings attached. I don't know. I guess it depends on what your school choice is. School choice is pretty cool here, I guess. But yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, obviously it's preferable to just not have it at all. All right, let's get into, got a couple more to go through. I thought this is kind of in the Pizzagate realm of things. I figured you guys might get a kick out of this. This is somebody named Jeff Carlson sharing this, saying people need to go to prison over this, high-level people. He's quote tweeting a tweet from the New York Post that says an exclusive $375 billion EPA slush fund handled by John Podesta gave billions to charities founded only months earlier. And then you have the quote tweet is an excerpt from, I'm assuming, this article. It says, in one case, former Vice President Kamala Harris handed over a check for nearly $7 billion to Bethesda, Maryland-based group Climate United Fund, which does not appear in the IRS's charities database and has no federal filings. So $7 billion sent to a charity that doesn't appear in the IRS charity database and has no federal filings. So assuming that means it probably hasn't existed long. The nonprofit fund had only been incorporated in Delaware on November 30th, 2023, according to public records, 5 months before Harris handed over the cash in April 2024. So this is, once again, a look into how the game is played. This is how the game is played. And don't you forget who Podesta was. We talked a little bit on Already Dead last night about how ironic it is that the whole Russia story really kind of came from the DNC leaks, which were huge Pizzagate stuff that they then deflected from and go, oh my God, Russia's releasing information. Yeah. Releasing information on what? You being a pedophile? Okay, thanks, Russia, if that's the case. But no, they managed to, lambast that, go, oh, this is ridiculous, oh, blah, blah, blah. And now the focus becomes Russia. And look at all these crazy Q people and these, conspiracy theorists out there. By the way, highly recommend my homie Austin's coverage on Pizzagate over on his channel. You won't be able to find that on YouTube because they struck that from YouTube. But yeah. This is pretty nuts. So yeah, billions going to charities founded months earlier, which so obviously complete just scam, complete money game. Now, who is this money going to? For what purposes? We'll probably never ever know. But you think about the dark arts these people are doing, and it's holy shit, man, that's something. All right, let's check in the chat. See what you guys have to say. Russia does seem to hate the pedos a lot. Maybe that's why NATO wants to destroy him. Perhaps NATO. We're getting ready. That's kind of what we're talking about here in a few hours over on Tinfoil Hat. Me and Austin, kind of talking about Gladio and how it ties into so much other shit. And Gladio was kind of essentially an entity of NATO. And man, if it is not noticeable how much pedophilia and child trafficking, snuff, SRA, these elements seem to play a almost borderline integral part to this thing that we call Gladio. So yeah, it's dark shit. All right, so let's look through the chat. All right, let's what else we got? Let's get into this is the last one today, unless one of you guys shares something else. This is from, this is the one Doc Torrey shared for us in the chat a little bit ago. So let's read through this, and then that's all we got after this. And once again, if there's something else, let me know in the chat. If you tag me on Twitter or something, so I can go look. If there's anything else you want me to bring up today, I have no problem with. Heard there was a big fire in Johnson City. Maybe they're going after him. Johnson City, this is in Tennessee, or what Johnson City are you guys talking about? Talking about some fire somewhere. I only asked about Johnson County? Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Johnson City. I used to live near Johnson City in Tennessee, so I was like, what? What the fuck happened? All right, let's get into this one. So this is whistleblower case against United Healthcare Group said to lack evidence. So we're back on the Luigi Mangione beat. So this is from yesterday by Kelsey Carson. On Fox 9, after 14 years, thousands of pages of legal documents and depositions, a whistleblower case against Minnesota-based United Healthcare Group is now said to be lacking in evidence. Okay, whistleblower case. Okay, all right. Well, this isn't what I thought it was. Okay, so this has to do with the lawsuit, not Luigi Mangione, which I guess might be tied into this. Okay, a special master was appointed by a judge to review the complex material and make a recommendation. That recommendation is the case go no further. Oh, I remember. I know what the drive is here. The idea being if he's a patsy, the United Healthcare CEO was probably taken out. That way they could wrap up this case, saving some fat cats tons and tons and tons of money. Okay, I get what you're getting at now. Okay, so if because obviously one of the main guys is dead, that probably might impact their ability to get information or whatever. So looks like maybe that's the case. Let's keep going. The backstory. The case dates back to 2011 when a former finance director accused the company of creating a revenue-generating scheme to over-report risk on patients through the Medicare Advantage program. The DOJ has claimed that UHG was able to bring in tens of millions of dollars it was never owed. What we know, a special master for the judge filed their report on Monday saying the government failed to review medical records, the only evidence that could establish whether United may have been overpaid. Their report says the lack of evidence doomed the case. What's next? UHG is asking for a judge to make a decision on the case. If that doesn't happen, it could go to trial in October. Okay, well, that looks like that's all the information on it. I mean, obviously, I don't know to what extent this is tied into the Luigi thing, but hey, it looks like the case that a lot of people want to tie into it is falling apart. They're saying it has to do with the fact that the government failed to review medical records. So the only evidence that could establish whether United may have been overpaid. The reporting says the lack of evidence doomed the case. Okay, well then this is confusing to me because you would think that means then government go review them. So I'm misunderstanding something here. I don't know if the death of the healthcare CEO in any way assisted him here. So I don't even really know if this is really tied into it. But either way, it looks like this is falling apart. All right, let's look at the chat real quick and I guess get out of here because I think we covered everything unless there's something else. Lacking a certain CEO's testimony, yes. No, it's hard to tell unless we know the ins and outs of this. Does this make a big difference? Did him not being there in some way, change the way this trial went? I don't know. There was another shooting of an insurance CEO in Oregon. Similar method, tactic, weapon, and suspect is Luigi. Yeah, I heard about that. I never, saw a link or saw any tweets or anything, so I never was. I figured we'd cover that. If any of you guys see that, tag me in it. I'll gladly cover it on it. So yeah. Do you think it's a copycat or same suspect? I don't know. I haven't looked into it enough, so I would need to look into that a little bit. I'm completely open to it. If that's something you guys want me to do, tag me. And if you see any stuff on it, we'll definitely go over it. But with that, I think, guys, man, this has been a good episode. We went through some stuff, cleaned, kind of got some of the stuff. This is like a housekeeping episode, cleaning up the stuff you guys tagged me in before. That I just hadn't got a chance to get around to. So with that, tag me and stuff. I pretty much always, end up getting around to bringing them on unless it's completely not relevant whatsoever anymore by the time I finally get around to it. But I'm usually pretty good about that. So with that, the tag at Twitter at TowerGangJose, that's the place to tag me at if you want me to cover any of this stuff. But if you want to support what I'm doing over here in the show, and you don't even have to send money. If obviously money's dope. But if you want to support the show without doing that, you can like, share, subscribe, comment, Leave a 5-star review on iTunes, Spotify. Those help out a ton. If you're watching on YouTube or Rumble right now, go leave a like. It helps out a ton. Just little actions like that. Obviously, I told you guys about, God, you threw me off. I saw such a, people were asking if I'm going to do a St. Patrick's Day special. When is St. Patrick's Day? I don't even know when St. Patrick's Day is. I mean, I'm here every day pretty much, 10 a.m. Eastern, so likely, I guess, sure. But I mean, it won't be anything special about it. I do have, now that you mentioned, I do have stuff that you guys recommended that I just never was able to kind of put together and figure out a way to present it. But you guys had tagged me, and I believe it's like IRA stuff. So I feel like maybe that would be appropriate. So the 17th, yeah, I mean, I know that's a Monday. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll be working, maybe not. So likely, maybe that'll be a day that I finally break out the IRA tabs. So only saying that was me. So there you go. Maybe that'll be when I break those out, because I still have those in my bookmark folder. So we'll get to it at some point. But yeah, if you want to support the show, like, share, subscribe, comment, follow me on Twitter, like all that great stuff. You could also get a razor from Nadeau. That's a way you can support it and get a product. But if you really, really, really want to support the show, the best way to do that, cash is king, baby. Give me money, really. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the best thing you can do. Patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. Now, to be clear, if you're in a rough spot in your life, if things are tight in any way, shape, or form, don't give me money. Please don't. Do the actions I just told you about, the non-paying options. But if you do have a buck to chip in, then very much appreciate it. Patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. The lowest level is $2. That's where you get the early access to the episodes. And I'm trying to do like 2 a week or so behind the paywall, and I'm trying to up the amount that stay behind the paywall. So the public, is now getting what's released from weeks ago. And I'm also shooting for, starting to release 2 to the public a week as opposed to just the 1, paywalled episode. So with that, hey, that's quite the value for you guys. So that's only for $2. So you get all those things behind there. You get them way earlier than the rest. You get them weeks, if not even almost damn near a month closer or earlier than the rest. You'll get ad-free RSS feed in there as well. If you don't like the ads on the audio podcast, then yeah, go there. Also, you can be a talking head on Already Dead, which is me and Austin's weekly a live call-in show on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So we send out a StreamYard link every week, and you can hop on there and shoot the shit with us. The highest level is my sponsors. I read them off every episode. My co-host on Tower Gang, at Tower Gang Toad. Also have at Abragades, at ZOAVRACK, at _Infinite Steel, Tim Tuttle, at John Klebo, Will Bell's Delicious Blueberry Rabbit Eye Wine, big fan of the show, Torn May, and at INWARD Lover. With that, guys, we are out of here. Deuces.